I just got back from a show. I took some photos for a friend, and while my photos are transferring right now, I just want to take a quick minute and really talk about something. I had a conversation with, someone today, and it was so interesting because one thing that came up in the conversation was the idea that your plan A almost never works out. Nothing rarely ever goes according to plan. And like 90% of life is literally just adapting. It's just you have a plan, it doesn't work out, and you just got to figure out how to make it work. Like, when was really the last time you actually had something in mind and it came out exactly like the way that you wanted it to without going through multiple iterations? Like, okay, you had an idea, but maybe you had to go through this way and it didn't work. You had to try again, and then you had to pivot, and you had to learn something, and you had to implement. And maybe you had an idea or took in some sort of information or one tiny nugget from something you tried that was completely irrelevant and not related, or some other area of expertise, or in something else that you just happened to be walking down the street and you saw this, and somehow you make it work. It's really ever going to be that direct route that you ever wanted to be. So literally, one thing that really I took away from that conversation was the idea that the one of the most valuable skill sets that you could have is the ability to adapt. And I think that's one thing that I definitely want to implement into my core mindset as I move forward, is not being so focused on the idea of being able to attain this specific desire, goal, and dream state, but it's being able to understand that I need to be able to pivot and adapt at a moment's notice in order to put myself in the right position in order to get where I want to go. So that's a little bit of a nugget that I took away from this conversation that I just wanted to share. And this is something that I've been really reflecting, because even in part of our conversation, one thing it was even as I've, kind of mentioned in some other videos comparing last week to this week, last week was extremely busy. Last week had so much going on, and this week was, not as booked, but doesn't mean that I didn't have as many things to still take care of and tend to. But I find that when I'm not under this constant pressure, I sometimes feel like it's almost like I let myself take my foot off the gas a little bit. And that's one thing that I definitely do not like. I'm like, okay, well, I definitely need to be continuously moving at speed. And I find if I don't have this pressure, these deadlines, is I don't have any choice to waste time. Then even on the days where I'm not necessarily booked or don't have a deadline or whatever the case might be, I still need to be operating at that same, conditional tone. I need to still be operating at that pace. So I think one thing for me is not just looking at the idealistic, how do I get to this? And I just want to be consistent and 100%. Like, nothing's ever going to be 100%. Everything's going to go up and down. But it's understanding, look, even to get to something that's, to me, what I would maybe say is a deem acceptable, but it's still that I'm still kind of reaching the terms of output that I still would want, that I'd be like, okay, look, this is something that's considerable, even if it's not like every single day, or it's like 1 2 3 as exactly ordered as I might picture it in my mind. Being able to adapt, I think, is probably going to be the thing that's really going to help me get there. Because so far, one thing, if I really learn and look at anybody who I've seen either successful, heard them speak, look at that their story, whether someone is online and is documented or whatever the case might be, almost 90% of the time it's adapting, right? Maybe you are continuously doing something and you adapt, or you make one small change, or there's an opportunity that presents itself, whether in front of you in the market or just in experiences that are right around you. And then by taking those, that's when things really start to make them that's when things really start to explode. Or sometimes it's even when you're navigating, and then maybe you're making small pivots. Some people, when they'll tell you their story, they don't even have, obviously they know where they want to go, but there's no like outlined, ordered steps and plan that will take them from A to Z directly in one straight line. It's like, look, I did this and I did that, then I did that, this opportunity was in front of me, I took it, that came up, I took it, that came up, I took, and it just keeps going. And what is that? That's adapting, right? That's not, I stood at my desk and then someone put it in front of me, and then I just did it, and then they brought something else in front of me, and then I just, no, like, it's adapting. Okay, look, well, there's an opportunity over there, well, let me go stand over there and see what happens, and then let me go over there. So at the end of the day, I just want to really hammer home the idea that try to be more adaptable. This is as much as a note to myself as much as a comment to how I should be continuously implementing this mentality. And going about certain things is like, everything is an opportunity, obviously, to learn, but also to adapt. Because adapting is to change, right? You can try to say, oh, I learned something, but that doesn't mean that you implemented something, right? But when you adapt, it's you're actually, okay, look, this is my environment, I need to make sure that I can thrive in this environment. So adapt, overcome, succeed, and conquer.